Hi, I'm Shelley Way and welcome to Shelley's Way to Wellbeing. Here we look after you as the professional and help you look after yourself and make sure that your world is full and you're feeling good and your well-being is amazing so that you can keep doing what you do best as a professional. So the other day I realised that, oh my gosh, here I am again. I'm in my backyard and it's been a hell of a week. I haven't had a week like that in a long time, and it was manic, and I worked too many hours, and my well-being score at the moment is probably 4 or 5 out of 10. And remember, we're trying to bring up to an 8 or more is what we're trying to achieve to keep floating at the top of our emotional energy level instead of declining. I need some downtime. I'm actually going to take a book, a cuppa, and just read my book. We'll see what my score is after that. Didn't make any difference. I'm still a 5 out of 10. I think I need to work on the project that I've been wanting to work on and can never get to. Well, as it turns out, actually working on your passions and purpose on something completely different is exactly the thing that brings up your emotional energy levels. I'm an 8 and I've been facing my fears and doing some work on a project, a physical project that I'm trying to build. I may fail, but you can only figure things out through trial and error, right? And I'm going to be making a bunch of something that will appear to be holograms hanging in trees. It will be very strange, but captivating, and hopefully bring the tourists to our tiny town. So as it turns out, working on your passions brings up your emotional energy, even though it's difficult to do. But it doesn't really matter what profession we're in. If you're a professional, you're dedicated, you work hard, you probably work too much, you don't have enough time or energy for yourself, and most of the time you find yourself exhausted, right? So the other day I was in that position and I went, oh my God, I just can't do this anymore. It's just killing me. And I had slipped back into that old pattern. So I decided, okay, there's got to be a way that not only I can help myself, but I'll help you too. And so I've come up with this, and I'm going to call it the busy bomb, because you actually have to unpack what's going on for you in order to help you plan fix-its. So step 1 is your pie chart. And you're going to be identifying all the things that are currently stressing you out in your very first pie chart. So the other day, this was the pie chart that I came up with, and these were all the stresses and everything that was going on in my world at the time that were just killing me. A whole bunch of things had happened and I just couldn't catch up. You know exactly what that's like, right? So this was my particular pie chart. So that's step 1, do your pie graph of everything that's going wrong in your world. Then step 2, that is just what's going wrong in your world right now. But step 2, we actually want either another pie chart or do one out this side of that, which I'll do in a sec, that actually goes through everything that is normally the case for you. Not just today, not just this week, but normally all the things that typically stress you. Well, I won't get awards for my neatness, but then this is my pie of my burdens every single week, typically. And these are the pieces of the pie that are normally on my plate and just overwhelm me and keep me working too long and not leaving on time, and therefore not having enough me time. And so I don't know whether yours is anything like this, but my suggestion would be to then come up with what it is that is burdening you and is just overwhelming you that you need to really figure out. And you can either do it in a separate pie graph or just do it on top of the graph that you've got to see what are the big chunks, okay? Then we move on to phase 3. For phase 3, you're going to be working on the ones that are mainly around the outside. This is the next step. So then you take the things that were from your big pie graph and what you're used to doing all the time that is just overwhelming and too much, and we're going to break it down. So we're going to have your stressor, then we're going to be saying what percentage of your stress is caused by that thing. And in this case, for me, it's a good 20% of my stress. Is this a big rock? Is this actually a rock that is going to matter for the job that I do? And that one ain't a big rock for me. Like, it's not really going to matter directly. The things that must be you and no one else can do, it has to be you.
And for me, some of them have to be me, but majority probably don't. And then can someone else do? Yes. And then you use your next one. So I'm going to do the next one while we're chatting. Okay. And the next one was follow-ups. For me, in my world, having to follow up with people is kind of like the majority, a good chunk of what I do. Being a high school principal, I've got to follow up with students and parents and, you name it. Oh my God, I'm exhausted thinking about it. But that's why I do what I do. So that's probably 15% of my challenges. However, is that a big rock? Yes, it is for me, because I'm going to be building a child's future. So for me, that is a big rock. Must it be me all the time? Not all the time. Some of it must be me. Sometimes it can be other people. Can someone else do some of it? Yes. And work your way down through all your stresses. But I went all the way down all of mine, and I realized that a chunk of them, portions of, could be done by someone else and not in fact me. Or then the next stage is that we start to look at, are there ways and means, if it has to be you, can you reduce the amount of time and energy that you have to put into it? But to start with, just do your stressor, your percentage of stress that it causes you. Are they a big rock? You should only be working on your big rock items, the things that are actually really going to matter to move your organization forward or to achieve the purpose of whatever your position in fact is. And if you're spending all your time on things that aren't big rocks, the question is, why are you doing that? Here's an example of the sorts of things. And by this, basically at the end of it, you know that you should be putting your energy and effort into these big rock items and actually figuring out solutions for this. Now, I must warn you that at this point, the logical part of your brain says, oh, okay, got it. I need to offload the things that someone else can do. Don't do that yet, please. I beg you. This is the mistake that most people make. They go off and go, okay, well, I'm just going to have to offload these things. Yes, you can do that. But there's a step before that you have to figure out what are the main causes of your underlying problem, because unless you resolve those and come up with solutions to them, you're not going to have long-term effects to make everything work for you better. This is instead what you do before you go to that step. So what you're actually going to do is take all of those stressors that you wrote down the left-hand side of your last table, and you are going to be writing them in a circle. I'm just going to do a few. You will have more than these, but I need to do a few to in fact demonstrate how you in fact do this. You are going to be not only putting all your stressors around in a circle, you're also going to be putting some of the things that you know that you do that is causing some of the problems, like not leaving work on time, or some of the problems, make sure you add them in, which is not having enough time for yourself, or the long commute home, or any of the other components where you are exhausted, anything that results from any of this, the mental exhaustion. You're going to be adding those to your circle. Don't miss them. Make sure you put every single one of those results in as well, because they need to be part of your planning. So once you have done that, they must be in a circle. You can have 20 of these or more in a circle. It will be a mess, I warn you, but it's worth it. So the very first thing you do is put it in a circle. If there is a link, you draw a line. Not offloading work and not leaving work on time. Well, because I'm not offloading work, I'm not leaving work on time, and I draw my arrow from the cause to the effect. Not offloading work and no time for emails. Because I'm not offloading work, I have no time to check my emails. They are linked. I'm not offloading work and my follow-ups are taking longer. And on the very rare occasion, if you know that two problems are linked, you can draw a line but not actually put an arrow, but only on the rarest of occasions. Most of the time you do need to go from the cause to the effect. I'm going to do a few more. So the next one, not leaving work on time and no time for emails. Because I never get around to checking my emails, I'm not leaving work on time. Then you compare this one to this one and so on. So I've compared that one to all of them. Now I'm about to do this one. Compare this to all of these. Now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, what a mess, that makes no sense, but it does. And this is why it does. Now what you actually look for is the key ones that have the most out arrows and the least in arrows. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out, 0 in. Is there any other ones that have the most out arrows? Out, no in. So from there, once you've got your ones with your most out arrows, they are your winners. And those are the ones that you're going to actually have to start to address. In this one, I'm going to have to address this, not offloading work to people and not actually using what I used from my first chart to actually make sure that I offload. If you don't do this particular chart, then you don't really understand the leverage points that you have to maneuver in order to make things happen. Because for me, I did this and went, oh my God, I'm not offloading work to my staff. I've got staff that I can offload it to. I have to do this because none of this is going to get any better unless I do. Then I had to start to work my way back through the other chart to figure out, okay, well, what do I actually have to offload to my staff? This is my big chart that I actually did. I don't know if you can see any of that, but I did a massive planner. Mine was a mess, but we actually figured out, well, I figured out that not offloading work was my big ticket item. Not leaving work on time was one of my big ticket items that I actually had to address, because if I don't leave work on time, then I don't have enough time for me. And if I don't have enough time for me, I don't go to bed on time. And then if I don't go to bed on time, I am then tired for the next day, and it all snowballs from there. Based on that, after you've done your cause diagram, which is what that big mess looking thing was, then after that, you're going to ask yourself, what are the items with the most out arrows that are not my big ticket items that I can offload to someone else? So what are they and how am I going to do it? And who are you going to offload them to? And if part of you is going, oh yeah, but I can't do that and everything, well, you've got an underlying belief that you need to fix. You might have to ask yourself, why can't I offload those items? Why is that? And you might say, oh yeah, but they're really busy. Why is that a problem? Because I'm not coping. And why is that? Oh, I've got to do everything myself. And why is that? Oh, because that's how my dad did it. And why is that? Oh, no one's going to listen to me anyway. You've just uncovered an underlying belief that you need to fix. So why? Why is that? Why is that a problem if you're going, oh no, I can't possibly offload things to someone else? Right? So that's number one. So what are the not big ticket items and not the big rocks that you can offload to someone else? Because the rocks are for you to help plan for and manage, right? And so number two, how can you reduce time and energy on your big rock items so that you're not so spent, it's not wasting so much of your time? How can you do it a bit more strategically? I also want you to make sure that you are planning one thing. What one thing, if you changed, would help everything? Everything. For me, if I don't leave work on time, it's a snowball effect, like I just said. I have to leave work on time, and I've always got so much work to do. But for me, I've set the alarms and I don't leave on time. I just work through my alarms and I just keep going. I'll announce to people that I'm leaving and I won't leave. I've actually asked my office staff to bully me out of work because I will not leave. I am my own worst enemy. And if you are your own worst enemy, which you possibly are, let's face it, what strategy can you use to make sure it's the one thing at here, what is one thing, if you changed it, is actually going to help you overall manage your stress?
Something else I realised when I was planning my days is I wasn't leaving enough gap time to react to things. I figured out that I needed about an hour of email time and an hour and a half of gap time to deal with the things that come in the door, just like you do. All the stuff that comes in the door that you hadn't planned that you've got to deal with. And I wasn't leaving enough time for that. And this week I have been. I've actually put that in my calendar to make sure that I do have gap time so I can react to things as they come in the door. And that has made a world of difference.
So that is the bomb, the busy bomb, shall we say. This is how you strategize your way out of the mess, because trust me, I've been there.